involved to in Game of Thrones?
I was working on another feature film called Your Highness,
Oh,
and having a lot of fun on that. And my producer, Mark Huffam, came to me in the early days of Your Highness and said, would I mind doing some extra work on a potential TV series? And I asked him what it was, and he said he couldn't tell me. So I said, well, okay, what's it about? And he said, it's medieval fantasy. And I thought, that's all right. That's what we're doing here. And so I ended up meeting the production designer and the supervising art director and doing a set of drawings for them based on little bits of script without any headers. So I didn't even know what the script was from.
okay.
And so I had to draw some castles and some giant wolves, some beheadings, some knights in armour. And that was all sent away to the States. Again, I had no clue who it was being sent to or anything. I went off and carried on working on Your Highness. And halfway through Your Highness, Mark Huffam came to me and said, hey, we've got Game of Thrones. And I said, is that what I was working on? And he said, yes. And I said, does that mean I have a job? And he said, absolutely. So when I finished on Your Highness, I just went straight on to Game of Thrones. I think it was the middle of a week, you know, a Wednesday.
Okay.
And I stopped because Mark had told me that the guys in Thrones were really wanting me to get started. So so I went straight in, and in the early days, I was the one artist there. There was drafts people there doing designs for sets, but I was the one person that they kept throwing art at, you know, ideas at. Can you come up with this? Can you come up with that? And so I was conceptualizing in those days, and a lot of the first things I did, I was asked to do with the weapons design.
Okay.
So I was designing things like Ice and Needle and Longclaw and the Dothraki weapons, the Lannister weapons, the weapons for the White Walkers. I got to design the White Walkers. I got to design, I did a painting of the Godswood tree. I got to do some work on dragons. There was a lot of stuff that, like the Hound, I got to do some, alternative versions of the Hound, because they just were trying to pin down what this character was going to be like, his helmet, all this sort of stuff. So there was all these different elements that I was asked to do, drawing Cersei's carriage and things. And also during the pilot, the guys knew I storyboarded as well. So I was asked to do storyboards with the director on that, Tom McCarthy. And so I was doing these two sides of what I do on most films. And then the first season I did a little bit of concept work and a lot of storyboarding, and I've been storyboarding ever since.
Okay. So you work just on Game of Thrones right
No.
now?
No, I do something like 4 or 5 months, 6 months mostly on Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And then the rest of the year I work on other films, or I work on comic strip work, or I do artwork of my own, or I'm out filming as a director. It's all sorts of stuff.
And when do you intervene in Game of Thrones? It's before the shooting, I imagine. With the directors, you meet for months and imagine what the sketches of.
I usually am bought in before shooting, but my work continues into shooting because of the balance of the way Game of Thrones is set up. We're always working ahead of what they're going to shoot, of course, but once you've finished with one director and you're getting on to the next director, that director may be away shooting stuff. So it's always a juggle. But when I first start, it's usually about a month and a half before they start shooting. And that hasn't changed much in all the years. But I'm bought in then to work with the directors, and so it's just me and them.
Okay.
And we sit down and go through. It's the same with any storyboard artist in any show, really. You work with the director and you try to interpret the director's ideas. So you end up being this little psychologist for a while, and you're trying to work out how do I get this stuff out of this person, and there's a lot of interaction between you and the directors, and it's brilliant because again, most of them I've worked with now for years, so they hopefully trust me. There's a lot of trust going on there. They know I'm serious about what I do. I try to give my best at all times in the show, and it's wonderful walking in with somebody that you actually know, and so you have a shorthand as well. I mean, all of the films you've ever watched are all in your head somewhere. And it's amazing when you start discussing a particular shot and you're referencing other film directors, you know. It's like, this is a Hitchcock moment, or this is a Sergio Leone moment, or, oh my God, this is Steven Spielberg. You know, it's like you're straight into knowing what a shot will look like, what a particular type of director would do with things. And it's good. I mean, it's because you're actually only thinking about things from the best of people, as well as coming up with your own stuff. It's a fantastic kind of working system.
And how does it work? Because you change directors, so is it difficult for you to manage different directors during your one season?
I've always liked this thing with working with different directors, because you know you're going in with a whole different temperament. And they're all really nice people. I mean, this is the thing, they wouldn't get to where they are in the business without actually, you know, knowing what they're doing. So you're learning so much off them as well. And you know, so, they're just really fascinating people. And I mean, they all have got a different approach to doing this stuff. I mean, I loved it. I remember when I worked with Alex Sakharov, who's gone on to Black Sails now, but Alec was, you know, he'd started off as a cinematographer and then became a director. And this is a man with the whole of Russian cinema embedded in him, you know. So when you're talking to Alec about shots, and you go off on a tangent about Russian cinema and movement of cameras and the subtleties of dripping water, and this is what is the mindset that's going into Game of Thrones. And then you work with somebody else, you know, like Mark Mylod, who is just so relaxed and easygoing and interested in you know, is there something else that we could do here, or what do you think about this? And you start having a really nice, emphatic sort of conversation going on. And then, you know, I mean, oh my God, and then this year it's been fantastic working with Alan Taylor again, who I hadn't worked with since season 2. And I did some work with him on Thor too, a little bit of stuff, yeah. But you're in this amazing situation of, in a way, it's a friendship that is, you know, reunited, and you're actually getting on with all these ideas, and you're firing them back and forth, and it's this synergy of thoughts, I guess. And the different directors are fantastic. Michelle Maclaren, when she was there, I mean, Michelle was, she was just amazing, because very, very precise about what she wanted, you know, and lots of changes, and you would sit and discuss all this stuff. We used to go for high tea on a Saturday sometimes and sit and discuss storyboards, which, yeah, I miss that.
Do you have a favorite director?
There's so many of them. How could you ask? I mean, I love David Nutter. David Nutter is the most phenomenal director. You know, he's known as, I think it's the pilot king out in America, because everything he does seems to become a series. But David was wonderful, lovely, gentle man that just knows what he's going to do and is responsible for the Red Wedding. And I mean, he was a phenomenal man to work with. They're all so bloody brilliant. Sorry, whoops, they are. They're all brilliant characters. Great people to work with.